Hi everyone, I'm finally back. It's been 5 weeks that I've had, various things have been happening in those 5 weeks. If you didn't see the book break video that I did with my sister while she was here last week, um, you you won't know that I've had 3 weeks off from reading because I desperately felt like I needed to have a break. I'd gone more than 2 years without having any kind of break from reading, so I felt like I needed it, and I got kind of addicted to Once Upon a Time on Netflix. So after I've watched every single episode that's aired so far, I then picked up a book, started reading. My broadband went absolutely crazy, but luckily I'm back now, so I'm able to get this video to you. What else has happened? We've had the Beast from the East storm, which was really annoying and felt like it was lasting for all eternity, and then it went away, and now we've got the mini Beast from the East come back, and its snow is good. There's a good few inches of snow outside my window right now. It's icy and slushy and all that lot. But yeah, so it's been an interesting 5 weeks. So, and in that 5 weeks, I've been reading Mary Queen of Scots by Antonia Fraser. Well, technically, it's been 2 weeks. Reading this quite chunky book, which covers the life of Mary Queen of Scots. I have never read this book before. It's this book that I got in Bath last year. I don't know if you recall videos that I did with my sister when we were in Bath, and we went to this absolutely amazing bookshop, which was just like two or three doors down from our hotel, and it was stunning. And as soon as I stepped in, the first book that I see in the history section directly to the left hand side of the door was this. So it was fate. I had to buy it because you cannot get this where I live. It's like gold dust. So that's how I got the book, and so I was really excited to read this. Antonia Fraser, as she always proves in all of her books, but especially in this one, she is like the best female historian for the way that she writes her stuff, the way she brings stuff to life. She is the queen. It's like bow down to greatness, bow down. She is absolutely fantastic, and she was wonderful in this book. It was a really interesting read. The thing about Antonia is that you can tell that she has researched every possible little thing to do with her subject, whichever book it is, but especially with Mary. She has got so much detail in this book, it is ridiculous. She can tell you specific dates, times of day, what meals she was eating, things that when she was having council meetings, all of that kind of thing. She knows exactly what Mary was doing at any given point. And you can feel her passion through this book. Okay, negative thing though, it's very academic. It's really quite dense at parts. So sometimes okay, let me put it another way. When I say academic, what I mean is that this book was written in 1969. So at that time, the way the historians conveyed certain things was not in the same way that a modern historian would. So if I compare to Take Courage by Samantha Ellis, she very much brought her own personality into the text. She gave her own points of view. It was very relatable in that sense. Whereas what Antonia is doing is that even though she's wonderfully bringing to life this key person in British history, she doesn't bring her personality to it. She doesn't give her own opinion. She says these are the facts. She's very academic in that way. So other writers who do that, other historic writers who do that, are like Alison Weir and David Starkey and stuff. I'm not saying that they're bad at doing that, because they're not in the slightest. I love their books. They're absolutely fantastic. But if you compare it to someone like Samantha Ellis or Lucy Worsley, for example, their approach to history and how they convey it and how they throw in their own thoughts it's really refreshing compared to something like this, where it is very, very, can be really quite dense and quite hard at times. So even though I thoroughly enjoyed reading this, at times it did feel a bit sluggish, because of that density, but it didn't turn me off. I kept going through, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The way how she describes Scotland as well, Antonia is really good at this, where she doesn't just talk about the politics of the time and everything and who her subject is. She talks about all different things, what the weather is like, how the common people felt about certain things. She refers to what is happening in Europe and everything at the time, and that, so she doesn't just, she gives you the full scope of what is going on. She doesn't say, I'm only going to focus on this one person, and okay, I'll bring in people who relate to their politics and everything, but that's all I'm going to do. She doesn't do that. She's wonderful at painting this world for you, and everything. I have to say that when I said, about the not giving her opinion and everything, I would have really, really loved it if she had really shown her opinions about Darnley, and who was Mary's husband, who was not nice in the slightest. And there was this whole thing of, he was murdered, and was she involved with it and everything? Was Mary involved with it? I really would have loved to get more of, a sense of how she felt about the situation throughout reading this book. Mary, she went through some hellish stuff, and it's so hard some of this bits to read because of what she went through. She paints such a vivid picture of Mary that you really do feel for her at times. Sometimes you're really frustrated with her. One thing I've really learned is that Mary had really, really terrible taste in men. But the other things, like how I really felt for her, like when later on in life, when she miscarried twins, when she was captured, when she was going through, like, the murder of Rico, someone very important to her, and Italian advisor and everything, and how he was savagely murdered. He was stabbed about 60 times in front of her. It was absolutely barbaric, his death, and the way, the energy of that particular event, and how Antonia brings it to life. And she says, look, what we know about this situation, this event, is from several different accounts from several different people. So I've kind of put it in order, and telling you what these accounts show, and you can feel the pressure boiling up and boiling up and boiling up, and then it just wham happens, and it's really shocking, to read and everything. And so I can only praise Antonia for the way that she bring that to life, and it shows why this book really shows why she is so good at her work. And her daughters are both historians as well, which I'm not surprised. Their mum is so good at what she does. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this, although at times it was, quite dense. And of late, I've liked in my reviews to read a segment of it, but I couldn't pick a particular one. And the thing about this is that, especially with non-fiction, is that sometimes, especially, like, there'd be a page that I'd like to read out to you, but then, I'm gonna have to read a bit, go back a few pages to read that bit for you to understand, especially in this, because it's so politically fueled and so intricate, with so many things happening at the same time in her life, that it was so hard to pick a segment to read to you guys, without having to, as I said, go to like 5 pages earlier and read one paragraph, and then a couple of pages earlier to read another one, for then a bit of it to then make sense for you guys. So I'm going to forego reading a segment of it simply because of that. But I totally agree with these reviews that are on the back, saying Lady Antonia Fraser tells Mary's story movingly, and yet with scholarship, insight and balance. It is a sort of biography of Mary which has long been needed. that is so, so, so true. Um, I love Antonia. I think she's a wonderful, wonderful historian. As I said, because the time that this was written, it is quite dense compared to her other works. But it's like 700 pages. I mean, Mary went through a lot of stuff in her life, and she beautifully conveys it. Such intricate detail. Um, Wonderful. It's all I can say. I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope if you guys pick this up that you will enjoy it too. I really strongly recommend this. Okay, guys, that's all I can think of to say about that. Now, of course, there have been various depictions of Mary throughout, TV and film and everything. Whilst my sister was here, we watched the film from the 1970s about Mary with Vanessa Redgrave, and yeah, it was okay, but it was very of its time, and they kind of really over drama, like went crazy over the top with some parts of her life and everything. But for detail, it wasn't too bad. And everything that she went through. I really liked Timothy Dalton's approach on Darnley, her terrible, terrible, terrible second husband, because her first husband was Francis, which was a planned, arranged marriage. Francis in France, and when he died relatively young, she then met Darnley and fell for him very stupidly, and that turned into a horrible abusive marriage. And then after his death, she remarried again. But his Timothy Dalton's approach to Darnley, the way that he was, how he charmed her and then was really horrifically abusive to her, and everything, and the mystery of how he died. Was she involved with the plot? That kind of thing. They make it that she had no idea about it in that film, but was she involved? We'll never know. There's also Rain, and as you guys know, I can't. Oh God, I hated Rain. It was awful. Yeah, it was TV junk food, so I watched all of it, but it was awful. It wasn't good at all. There's really various depictions of Mary throughout documentaries and dramas and film and TV and all that lot. Because sometimes she comes across very harsh. They just see her as the enemy of Elizabeth I. Like, if Elizabeth I is the real main focus of the drama, she is seen as this, like, evil entity who's out to get Elizabeth's crown and she'll do anything to do that. Whereas if it's kind of more from Mary's perspective, like in the 1970s one with Vanessa Redgrave, Elizabeth is seen as the really dark, sinister one, and she's really lovely and charming and all this lot. She's the innocent one. So I think it depends on the perspective of who the drama or film or whatever, whoever's perspective, or whoever's the main focus, should I say, is of that piece of media, depends on how Mary is depicted. But for this book, Antonia really gave a full perspective view of Mary, who she was as a person, which is key. And even though, Mary, you made some really big mistakes in your life, honey, and trusted Darnley when you really shouldn't have, I can't help but understand why. She was just completely swept off her feet, and it was her first kind of proper experience of love, as it were. Even though she quickly realised it wasn't. It was silly. It was stupid. But Mary, I really respect her. After reading this book, I really feel tragically sad for her. But I still think that she had the worst taste in men. Worst. All right, guys, I'm going to stop there. And as I said, if you're able to pick this up, I'd strongly recommend it, but be aware that there are dense parts to it. And yeah, enjoy. And have any of you already read this book? I'd love to know what you think. You can leave me a comment in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Entirely up to you. I'll let you decide. And I will be back soon to announce which book I'm going to be reading next, which is fiction. I've been absolutely craving fiction since I got back into reading after my reading break. But I had to read this one first. So yes, I'm going to now pick which fiction book I'm going to be reading next. And yeah, I will be back soon. Alright guys, bye.